Hey, it's Eli aka Atlas here. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on facial expressions. The first thing we need to know about facial expressions is they're extremely easy to draw. To start with, let's look at the parts of the human face to understand what makes them so easy. Everybody's face looks different, but they all move the same way because every human face has the same muscles, meaning every face actually has the same basic expressions, but they look different because of the features, where they're placed on the face, etc., etc. And of course, of the intensity of the expression itself. There are some facial expressions that you can make more subtle and others more dramatic. There are a total of 42 muscles in the face, broken into subsections. The expressive muscles are controlled by the facial nerve, which is also known as the seventh cranial nerve. It emerges from the brainstem and also sends the sense of taste from the brain to the tongue. Scientifically speaking, according to the Smithsonian Magazine via the University of Glasgow, there are a total of 4 universally recognized facial expressions. Just 4. Keeping that in mind will make it infinitely easier to master facial expressions. As you can see, I already drew, for example, what those 4 facial expressions might be. I have neutral, happy, sad, and angry. We're going to break down what makes these facial expressions what they are, going to examine the subtleties and extremities of them, and hopefully by the end of this video you will be able to draw very realistic and very convincing facial expressions yourself. The easiest way to pin down a facial expression is to study your own face. Make expressions in front of the mirror and pay attention to the lines that make up the expression itself. Look at the angles your mouth shift to, the curvature of your eyes, and the creases on your cheeks. When drawing an expression, you should always start with the essential lines, and this is actually probably where they got the idea for emoticons from. If you look at these here, these variety of expressions, these are the expressions above, and simplified versions. The neutral facial expression is basically all straight lines. The happy facial expression is curves. The sad facial expression are curves in the opposing direction as the ones for happy, whereas the eyebrows arch upward in a happy facial expression, the eyebrows arch downward. The angry facial expression is unique because it uses, well, different lines. We'll get to that in a minute. And for me, these are the essential lines in a face. The lines of the eyebrows and the line of the mouth itself. As soon as you place those in the eyes, you can have the same kind of eye shape throughout your drawings, but if you have the eyebrows and the mouth shifting, going upwards, curving certain angles, you can achieve a variety of different expressions. Be careful not to put too many lines on a face to achieve a certain expression, however, because then you might end up aging the character, which is bad. If they're supposed to be younger, you should be able to achieve the expression with the least amount of lines possible. Let's look first at this neutral facial expression. The reason it looks the way it does is because there's no intensity in it. They're all just straight lines, as we saw on the emoticon version. The neutral facial expression is basically made up of completely straight lines, whereas the happier facial expression is made up of curves. The eyebrows are arching upwards, the mouth arching down, the edges go up, of course, and the eyes are relatively the same, although the lashes are bigger because this is a female, but the eyes are neutral. If we covered these eyebrows and covered the mouth, this could be a neutral expression. Now, once we put the eyebrows back, but without the mouth, indicating that it's a smile, you'd almost think that this is a surprised expression, because the eyebrows also appear the same way on that. But if we take away the eyebrows and eyes and leave the mouth, you can tell it's a smile just because of that. So keep that in mind. on the sad facial expression. It's very dramatic because it's so different from these two, and it's the polar opposite of the happy expression. Whereas those lines curve upwards, these one is in the reverse. And again, take away the mouth, she doesn't look totally sad. She looks more confused. And if we do that again with the eyebrows, it almost looks like just a neutral face. But you put the mouth back, sad. So the mouth plays a big role in the expression itself. The eyebrows only accentuate that. And the angry face is very distinct because the eyebrows, it's very dramatic, whereas the eyebrows typically sit little midway across the forehead. They shift and drop dramatically for an angry expression. No other expression really looks very much like an angry face. So you could get away with just the mouth, covering the mouth, and leaving just the eyes. That's why in comics they do that a lot of the time. You can just isolate the eyes by themselves in a panel because they're just so distinct. The angry expression isn't like the other ones. And the nose doesn't typically give too much information. That's why even on the internet when they have emoticons, there aren't any noses, because they realize that their only really essential lines are the eyebrows and the mouth itself. But what happens if we combined the two of these to make a new expression? To get past the basic expressions, you need to be able to combine two or more to make one new one. So what made the neutral neutral and the happy happy? If you were paying attention, you know that it was the lines across the face in the neutral expression were all straight. And it already looks pretty neutral. But we're going to change that by including the curves of the eyebrow and the mouth on one side of the face to the neutral expression. And I'll do a tutorial about drawing faces in general. So if you can't exactly follow along, don't be worried about that. I'll go into that in detail later. The eyes, which don't have too much story in them by themselves as far as expressions go. The curvature of the mouth, the whole sides in. Darken these lines in, and then we're going to break down what makes them look the way they do. I'm not going to worry about the hair too much because it's more about the face. More confident expression because we combined the neutral with the happy. Happy and neutral together, then become confident. So look at this again. The neutral face, it's the same guy. Same eyebrows, same nose, same mouth. The only difference is, besides his hair color changing, the only difference is we've taken the eyebrow curve, which is the happy curve, from half of this side of the face. And we've added it to his side of the face. Combine the two of them. sure my facial expressions are accurate, because real facial expressions are just a case of mixing and matching. We're going to move to another one in a second. That is going to be mixing the happy face with the sad face. These lines are going to be pretty light. Hopefully you can follow. Going to combine the curves of both of these faces, different curves and different angles, to create a new expression. And this time the eyes are going to come into play slightly. And again, because this is making up a new facial expression, you combine the two. When you combine two extreme facial expressions, the intensity of it increases, and that kind of forces the face to move in certain ways. Talk about that in a second. Smile lines and wrinkles appear under the eyes. And that is the look. Is an overjoyed look. Or perhaps maybe even a false smile. Just giving some good news about maybe someone she doesn't like. Just pretending to be happy for them. So she's a little sad, but pretending to be happy. But she really feels like this. And so ends up looking like this. And all we did were combine the lines of this, happy and sad, combine the happy curves, combine the sad eyebrows with the happy curve of the mouth, and it became this. Took a life of its own on. This will be insincerity. Now we're going to do another one. Going to combine the sad and the angry face.